My spirit name is Asiniesquel, and it means woman of the rock. I think it all started when I was probably in my 20s. I knew that I had been really sickly as a child, and I found out that I was getting these chronic infections all the time, urinary tract infections. And so I had seen a doctor, and I asked him, I said, why am I always getting these infections? And so he referred me to a specialist, a urological specialist. And when I saw the urological specialist, that's when I discovered that I had a defect in my one kidney. It was a condition known as reflux action. And so I had my right kidney removed when I was 24 years old. But subsequently, when he had examined me, he said to me, he looked back on my medical records, and he said, do you realize that you had a defective kidney, when you were x-rayed at the age of 13 years old? When I was diagnosed with kidney disease, I don't think I was fully aware of how it would impact my life. Sometimes when you're in your 20s, you don't really think about mortality. You don't really think about what does this really mean for me. I was in relatively good health because my kidney function at that time was still fairly good, my remaining kidney. And so when I got the diagnosis and had the kidney removed, I thought, okay, problem solved, because that defective kidney was mostly scar tissue. But what I didn't realize is that with kidney disease, I really needed to be much more careful with my health. And I don't think it was until many years later, when I was working for the police service, when I had been referred to the chronic kidney disease clinic, that's when I realized how perilous my health was, because my kidney function was only about 20% at the time. Well, I was traumatized. I remember going to an appointment, and my husband was still working full-time, and so my best friend came to the appointment with me, where all the options were laid out regarding kidney disease, where I could either go for hemodialysis or peritoneal dialysis, or I could opt for a kidney transplant and hopefully get one. When that presentation was given to me, I was like, I was just crying the whole time. And my friend Val was sitting with me, holding my hand, and it's like I could absorb on some level, but not fully comprehend, what this diagnosis meant. And so it took me some time to kind of process what was happening, and I thought, holy smokes, I could die, And so it's overwhelming when you get that diagnosis. It's like you have to face reality. This is not something, that's lightly to be considered, but rather this is a very serious situation. This is a dire health evaluation. I was working for the police service. I loved my job working in the culture unit, and I wanted to continue working. And he said, well, probably because you're physically active, like I was going to the gym all the time, and I was doing my very best to take care of myself, eating properly and so on. He said, somebody like you, he said, you'd probably do best with peritoneal dialysis. When he laid out that option for me, I went along with it, because I thought, yeah, that sounds like something I could do. At least then I'm not stuck in the hospital, having to sit for hemo for hours on end. For 2 years, I did that. It gave me some freedom. My husband and I were able to travel, but we'd always have to make sure that we had the boxes on order from Baxter to be delivered to wherever we were staying. And then I would do the peritoneal dialysis 4 times a day to clean out my system. So I did that for 2 years, and it was a pretty good option initially. And then towards 2018, I started getting really sick. I ended up with a case of shingles, and it was absolutely horrible. once I got shingles, because your immune system is so compromised, I was at the point where I was getting visitors from the other side. And my one sister that had passed, Agnes, I recall seeing her in my dream, and she had suffered so much before she passed away. So when I saw her in my dream, she looked healthy, she looked happy, and I thought, wow, maybe it's time for me to leave my body. And I went and saw a therapist, a body talk therapist, because I was in such agony. I couldn't sleep. She said, you know what, Monica, you have 1 foot here and 1 foot over there. She said, and you need to make a decision, like either you stay here or you go. So when I thought about that decision that I had to make, she said, you have to talk to your creator. And if you want to be here, then you go home and you stamp your feet if that's what you need to do because you want to be here. I made a decision that I wanted to be here. So I asked my creator, I said, I'd really like to be here. And part of my thinking was, as horrible as my body felt at the time, I was willing to do whatever it takes to be here. And I prayed really hard, and I was so blessed because I had a lot of people in the community that came to assist me. I put out the call, Creator help me. And I had a pipe ceremony that was done here in my home. My family came to attend the pipe ceremony. Police service was really supportive. My sergeant took some prayer cloth and tobacco to a sweat ceremony for me. So I'm a real strong believer in spirituality. Depression is part and parcel of chronic disease, and that it's really, really important to continue to support yourself with people that love and care about you, to not isolate yourself, even though you are isolated in a way by disease. At the same time, it's kind of weird, but Facebook kept me going too, because I was able, even though I was laying on my couch and I was exhausted, I could still use social media to reach out to people and see people. And I was just amazed at, the amount of people that followed my journey. And there were so many other people that were struggling as well. So it kind of made me realize I'm not the only one in this situation. There's lots of other people out here that are struggling to stay alive. And so that for me was like, thank you, Creator. I'm here. I was suffering greatly, and so that's when the decision was made to switch me to hemodialysis. And of course, I still have my fistula, right, from the hemodialysis. And I remember going for hemo for 5 months after the peritoneal, and it made a big difference for me. In fact, I had been on insulin on peritoneal dialysis. When I started hemodialysis, I no longer had to be on insulin. And so that was a bonus. Within that 5-month period when I was going to the renal unit there, I noticed quite a few other people, they didn't have the option, which made me sad, of even being considered for a kidney transplant because they weren't healthy enough. So I was pretty meticulous when it came to taking care of my health. I constantly monitored my blood pressure. My husband was my #1 champion. I just said to him, honey, there's no way that I could have made this journey without you. Yeah, so it's pretty awesome. Important to have somebody that's there for you, It's really, really important. Hemodialysis, peritoneal dialysis. Somebody asked me, like, would you change your journey? Like, would you have picked something different? And I said, no. I was so excited about the possibility of transplant, and I understood how important it was to get checked. And it was a long process because one of the things about living in northern Saskatchewan is that, they test you for tuberculosis. I had tested positive that I had been exposed to tuberculosis. And so part of my workup entailed getting pills that I could take. So I ended up taking them for 6 months thinking, okay, now I'll be ready. No, I had to wait another 3 months, so that's part of it. And then of course the tissue typing, I was really blessed because my sister was the first one to get evaluated to be my donor. And it turned out that after everything was said and done, she wouldn't have been a good match. She was ruled out as a potential living donor. And then my son Joshua went for a checkup as well. And he turned out very healthy. He'd make a wonderful donor. But in your case, you would end up rejecting him. You'd end up rejecting not him, but the kidney, right? And it's because of the antibodies, because our DNA is so unique in our systems, you'd end up rejecting it. And then unbeknownst to me, my nephew, Jimmy, made a decision. He consulted with his wife. He said, how would you feel about me donating a kidney to Monica? And she totally supported him. He's my hero. He really is. Like, I refer to what he did to save my life as the ultimate Sundance. He was willing to undergo surgery to have the kidney, his spare kidney, removed from his body, and transferred to mine. And I said a prayer. I said, Creator, I said, if Jimmy is going to give this kidney to me, I don't want there to be bad repercussions for him. I'd much rather wait for a cadaver kidney rather than see my nephew hurt from donating his kidney. So that was my prayer to the Creator as well. When I woke up in the recovery room, there was an attending nurse there, and I looked up at her. Before she came over, I was looking around and I was just like marveling at the fact that I was here, that I'm still here. And I just remember the world just seemed much brighter and miraculous, because I would liken having kidney disease to getting more and more blurred vision, where you're almost ready to lose your sight. And your energy is just being sapped away from you. And somebody also said it's like having a pilot light that's just flickering and just about ready to go out when you have kidney disease. And so when I woke up, I had energy, I had strength, I could just feel this kidney like giving me this amazing energy. It was like, I couldn't believe how good I felt. It's such a transformative experience when you've almost been to the other side, right? And you get to still be here and you get to feel that energy. I mean, to me, I have such respect for the kidney now, like, and the function that it provides. And, if it's not working well, I totally understand the importance of kidneys and what they do to keep us alive. When I first got home, I had massive amounts of pills to take. I still have the binder. I had like 19 pills to take. And because I was on prednisone and some of the other anti-rejection medications, I remember when I was in the hospital, I was just shaking like a leaf because the side effects from the drugs. It takes a while, right, for your body to really fully heal from a transplant. And then the side effects you're contending with from the anti-rejection medication, which you're on for the rest of your life, and thank God for them, but there are some negative side effects. The other thing that happened, okay, so I'm getting quite healthy now. I did have sepsis. I was a killer, potential killer, sepsis, because, that's poison in your entire system, right? So I went through that period where I was hospitalized. So I was very, very sick at that time. And but I managed to get well with the antibiotics. When you're on anti-rejection medications, what they do is they reduce your immune system because your body doesn't recognize that kidney as your own. And so it tries to reject it. So you need anti-rejection drugs in order to be able to keep your kidney from rejection, right? Because it's keeping you alive. So you don't mess with your medication. You check with your doctor first, right? If you're going to make any changes. I think one of the things that I admire the most about healthcare professionals is their empathy, their kindness, and their willingness to work with you on your journey. I really admire the expertise that they have, but I also think that it's important to listen to what we have to say as patients. I think the more that we talk and understand and treat each other as equals, yes, I recognize that healthcare professionals have a lot of expertise that I don't have, but I'm also very in touch with my body and I know myself really well. And I think that if we can agree to have a give and take and understand where I'm coming from and understand where you're coming from. One of the things that I thought was missing through my whole journey was right at the outset. When I got the diagnosis, I was lucky because I brought a friend along. But what happens if people go there by themselves and they get that diagnosis? It's really overwhelming. I never got sort of the mental health support. My husband and I were talking. I got it, fortunately, from my own community and from folks, but I really think the whole issue of mental health needs to be addressed when it comes to getting a diagnosis of chronic kidney disease. And the importance of ceremony, the importance of honoring the belief systems of Indigenous people as well, because some people opt to use traditional medicines. I'd love to see some research done on some of the traditional medicines and their efficacy, because I was always cautious, when people offered me traditional medicine, I would go to the sweat and I'd pray about it, right? And if I felt like this wasn't the thing to do, I wouldn't do it. So people have various levels of understanding, but the more accessible you can make this whole process to the folks. A lot of people are visual. A lot of people need to see examples and then they understand, oh, this is what's going on. And so to me, you can never be empathetic enough when somebody's going through a health crisis. So no matter what is going on in your world, demonstrate empathy and kindness for each other and deliver the information in a way that it can be understood. Understanding the trauma that Indigenous people have faced when it comes to the healthcare system. I think there's a real disparity when it comes to understanding and being able to trust, right? And sometimes Indigenous people will say, well, that's a Munia way of doing things, which means it's the white person's way of doing things. And I think, respecting us as Indigenous people, we're Métis, we're First Nations, we have various belief systems, right? And I think people know when you're being respected. In our community, one of the things I've always noticed is that, when somebody has a good heart and they're willing to work with you, you're willing to share with them. Our people are, typically very generous in sharing some of that knowledge. The advice I would give to Indigenous people is that understand that there are people here who genuinely care, that there are people that have hearts for our people and that want to help us. And so my experience has been, when you treat people with dignity and with respect, even though you might have some hurts, just work together. Try to understand what is going on with you and understand that maybe other people might be having a bad day or whatever, but most importantly, take good care of yourself. Take good care of yourself. Do what you need to do. Drink your water. It horrifies me when I see the amount of pop that is consumed. I don't consume beverages of that sort. I don't smoke. I have not smoked for quite a number of years, although I used to love smoking. I don't drink alcohol whatsoever. And so I think we have a responsibility as human beings to take care of ourselves too. It's not always up to the medical professionals to be able to determine that for you. We have the capacity. Creator has given us lots of healing gifts. You know, being able to sing, being able to pray, being able to have conversations, being able to dance. You know, we have a community, the way that our bodies are created, our spirit and our minds, we have a lot of capacity within our own beings to heal ourselves. And so the body, mind, spiritual connection, don't isolate yourself. Reach out. Ask your Creator to bring the people into your life that can help you, you know, continue to focus on wellness, because there's so much stuff that goes on in the community that's unhealthy. And so we have a responsibility. If you consider the role of kidneys, they clear out toxins. They clear out things that are bad for you. So when you understand that that's the role of the kidney, well, we as human beings also have a responsibility to filter out the toxins, to try to focus on the good. We're not perfect human beings by any stretch, but you know what? Do the best that you can. Walter Linklater used to say, try to live your best life, try to live a good life. You know, some of the teachings of the elders are so important. And piatak, like, take it slowly, one day at a time. In this day and age, it's really important to reach out to get the help that you need to take care of yourself. Our children need us. Our grandchildren need us. Our communities. We have a sacred responsibility. You know, this is our planet Earth, and we get to be here together, you know, and there's lots of beauty here. I have such respect for the kidney now, like, and the function that it provides. And, you know, if it's not working well, I totally understand the importance of kidneys and what they do to keep us alive.